Hello everyone and welcome to today's session on remote data access. So this was formerly known as Sage Drive if you've used our products for quite some time. Today we're going to be learning about remote data access, how it works and how to set it up. So we're not going to be doing any troubleshooting today, we're just focusing on the introduction to this feature. My name is Abby and I'm going to be your host for today's session. As well as hosting, I am also going to be answering your questions. So please do bear with me on that front. I will try and answer your questions on the session. If I'm unable to do so, I will pick them up after the session has ended and I will contact you directly via email. So before we start the session, just want to cover some housekeeping. So what you will see is that you will be placed on mute when you join. If you do have any questions, you can use the questions panel down the right-hand side of your screen by clicking the option that looks like a little speech bubble with the question mark in the middle. This is then going to open up the panel where you can send your questions across to me where I can pick these up for you. We do also have a handout for today. You can download this by clicking on the button that looks like a little document with the folded corner. And I always recommend to download these handouts as well, as we always like to include helpful links to resources on our help centre. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. So we're going to start by covering what is remote data access. We're going to start looking at what are the requirements for remote data access. We're then going to look at things to consider before you start using this feature. We're then going to go through different scenarios to make it, we always find that people misunderstand this feature and how it works. So we're going to go through some scenarios to make it a little bit more easier to digest. We're then going to go through some video demonstration on how to set up remote data access. We'll then have some frequently asked questions towards the end of the session, and then I will summarize towards the end. Again, though, don't feel like you need to wait until the very end to ask your questions. Just pop them through and I'll pick them up as we go along. So just before we move on, I just want to launch a poll on your screen there. So I'm just wanting to know, do you currently use remote data access? So a simple yes, no, I choose not to, or no, I don't know what it is. So you can pop your votes in for me. It's just for me to get a bit of insight as to where people are at with their knowledge on this feature. So we pop your votes in there. What I like to do is I tend to wait until we get around 70, 75%. And then what I do is close the poll, and then I'm going to share those results with you as well. So we're still waiting for those votes to come in, so I'll just give people a little bit longer. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to close the poll. So don't worry if you haven't voted. Lovely. So 67% of you do currently use remote data access, but it might be that you've got it set up or it was set up by a predecessor and you're not entirely sure how it works. And then 33% of you don't know actually what it is. So that's what this session's all about. So we'll hide that poll down and we'll get stuck in. So before we move into all about remote data access, I just want to cover, it's kind of prior to the setup process. It's things you've got to consider about setting up a Sage account and connecting a Sage account to your connected services. So to use any of the apps and add-ons in the software, you must have a Sage account linked to your company. So that could be different add-ons like Satago, Invoice Finance, Invoice Payments, bank feeds, remote data access. And you might have heard of it before, especially as well if you access your invoices online from us, then it can be, you might already have a Sage account to do with your MySage. But today we're just focusing on remote data access. If you are wanting to find out more about apps and add-ons in the software, just below your homepage, just down the left-hand side of your panel, just below the home label, you should see apps and add-ons just underneath that as well. Then you'll find out more all about the different ones you can get access to. So there's often a lot of confusion between a Sage account and your logon name and when to use them. So your Sage account window, which is the one on the left. So this one is going to ask for an email and password combination. You would be asked for this either when you're logging into MySage for your invoices or when you have apps and add-ons set up in your software. And it might be when you're setting it up, or it might need to re-authenticate, so it may ask you for your logins at that point. Whereas the logon window on the right, so this is what you'll usually see when you log into your company. When you first start up the software, you're logging into a company, we'll ask for a username or logon name and a password combination. So for example, you might log in as manager, or you might log in as Joe or Sarah. You might have your own individual users. So the left is only when you need to, like you say, re-authenticate apps and add-ons. Now, if you are in later versions and you're, I think it's from about version 31, where we've started to introduce Copilot, you might log in with the one on the left, but if you're in a lower version, you may still log in on the right. Okay, so what is remote data access? So it's formerly known as Sage Drive, which was introduced in version 21. And it's now known as remote data access. This feature enables you to share your data securely via the cloud, giving you and other users freedom to work anywhere with an internet connection and Sage 50 accounts installed on your machine. It is available on version 27 and above. All variants have access, whether you're standard, professional, essentials, and it is included in your subscription. Now, one thing I want to make very, very clear is remote data access does not permanently store your data, and you must still take regular backups. That's a very important part. A lot of the misconception with this feature is that it's permanently stored in the cloud, a bit like our Sage accounting product. It's different. It only temporarily stores in the cloud to sync between locations. So you must remember to be taking those regular backups. So let's have a look at the requirements to be able to use this feature. So like I say, you must be on version 27 and above. Software is to be installed locally on each machine that you want to connect. All users must be on the same version and build. You can find out that just by going to help along the top and then into about, and then in the top left-hand section, you should see your version number. You will also need license information. So this is if you've got one machine currently set up with Sage, but you've maybe bought another couple of new machines or new laptops for your users to work remotely. They might need to install on those laptops as well. So they'll need the license information, so like your activation key, your serial number. So you can get all of that information from your help page as well. All computers must meet the system requirements. And you also need a minimum internet speed of 4 megabytes per second. I realise that's the wrong way around. Download and 2 megabytes per second upload. For the best results, we recommend you use a wired connection where possible. And lastly as well, you must have a Sage account linked or created to use remote data access. In the top right-hand corner, I have included RDA requirements article, and also as well a direct link to a speed test online. So then you can, each machine that is set up in the relevant locations, then you need to be able to do a speed test in each location, because you are only as strong as your weakest connection. Okay, so things to consider before setting up remote data access. So you want to check the size of your data, and you can do this by going to Help and then into About. Under data information, you want to check the number of splits that you have. So splits are the number of transactions that you have in your transactions module. We recommend that you have fewer than 250,000 splits. You also want to be checking the number of invoices, orders, and other records as well. There is a link to an article which gives you the recommended amount. So you can see in the bottom right there, I've got data limits. This is not also just specific to remote data access, but just a general rule of thumb to keep your data running smoothly and efficiently. You want to make sure that you're checking those internet speeds at each individual site. And lastly, majority of your data will sync, but there are a few things that don't, such as archives, memo attachments, and your standard layouts, as everyone will have a copy of those as standard. However, if you have renamed customized layouts or reports that is the same as the standard or default, such as the goods delivery note, then it will not sync, as it will have to be shared manually. If you do require any more information on what we have just mentioned here, I have included links which also as well which files sync. So that's going to explain in more detail what I've just covered here. Okay, so manual data sharing. So prior to using remote data access, you may have to share your data with your accountant, and it may look a little something like this. So Joe would process invoices. He would then take a backup and share with his accountant, Sarah. So whether he sends that backup via email or a SharePoint, he might travel to his accountants with a USB stick. But once he's given that backup to Sarah, Sarah would then restore that backup into her own software and process the relevant adjustments in the software. Now, whilst all of this is going on, Joe would not be able to process, as when he gets the backup from Sarah, if he was to overwrite anything that Sarah's done, but when he restores that backup in, it would overwrite as current data. Using remote data access allows you to work concurrently without that back and forth of one processing then the other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through a bit more different scenarios. So here's the same scenario that we've just gone through, but we're using remote data access. So Joe's in the office, and his accountant is external in her own office and using remote data access, so Joe can continue processing those invoices whilst Sarah is adding those adjustments. When you have a one user license, as long as you're set up, you set up your accountant with the right user type, then they do not count towards your users logged in. So you make sure that with any external accountants, they are set up as an accountant or bookkeeper. Now let's just say this is scenario 2. So we've got a one user license. Joe's got a computer in the office and he's got a laptop at home. Instead of taking a backup in the office and carrying that USB stick home and then restoring it into the computer at home, he can have Sage also installed on a second machine, and using remote data access, all he has to do is log into his data, and everything he has processed in the office will then synchronize to his home machine. You don't have to create new users or anything, user profiles or anything like that. You can use the same login. Scenario 3. So you might have a scenario when you have one person in the office, one person at home, and another in a different location. So each person in this situation is classed as a remote site. But bigger processes such as year-end and clear audit trail can be done at any location as long as you are on version 28 and above. If you currently only have a one user license, but you would like more people working concurrently, then you can contact our support team to increase your user licenses for your user logins. Okay, so we'll just go through the last scenario here. Now, like I say, if you've got any questions, do pop them through. We haven't had any come through as of yet. Hopefully that means I'm doing the right job. So finally, scenario 4. So here is if you have a server involved. So you can use a server and remote data access. So for example, you have Joe and Marie in the office, but there are 2 PCs unnetworked by a server. Although they are 2 separate users using their own machines, their own software, because they are working from the same data location, i.e. the server, they class as one site. If you have a server set up, then we always recommend to set up RDA from that location first. You would then only apply remote data access to Joe and Marie user records if they had another machine at a different location that they needed to connect to remotely. So Joe and Marie is site 1, Stephen at home, site 2, and then Sarah in her own office, site 3. That's 3 separate remote data access locations. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go through some demonstration. Now this is going to be video demonstration, but I've got a little bit of a diagram to show you, slow down the process a little bit to make it a little bit easier to understand. So we're going to go through the setup at the first site, add additional users, and then when you want those additional users to connect remotely, what steps they need to go through as well. Okay, so first, we're going to set up remote data access from Joe's location. So we're going to take a look at video 1, and this is going to, see what it looks like for the setup process. Again, whilst the videos are playing, you can also ask those questions.
Once you've checked the system requirements and internet speeds of all required machines, you can set up remote data access. Log in as manager and check your software version by going to Help, then About. The version number is listed in the Program Details area, and all users must have the same version installed. Next, you should take a backup. To do this, open the File menu and click Backup. Select the files that you want to back up, amend the file name and choose the location by clicking Browse. To continue, click OK. A check data prompt will appear. We recommend that you do this every time. If any errors are reported, these must be fixed before you continue. To continue with the remote data access setup, you must link a Sage account to the company. To do this, navigate to Settings, User Management, and click Users. Manager will be highlighted by default, then click Edit. If remote data access has been set up in the past, Allow remote data access checkbox will be available to select. If not, click Get Started Now with your Sage account. To find out more, click here. To continue with the setup, click Continue. Enter the name of the person who is going to be the data owner, preferably someone in a permanent position within the company. Additional information is available here. Once completed, click to confirm you are the right person. Next, check your company details. All mandatory information is marked with an asterisk. To continue, click here. Next, log into your Sage account. If you already have a Sage login, enter the details here and click Login. If you don't have one, create a new account using the link provided. Enter the email address you want to be assigned to the manager user, the name of the person you have assigned the data owner, and a password. Once you are happy with the information entered, click Sign Up. You'll receive a 6-digit code to your email. You can enter this here. Your Sage account is now connected. To close this message, click here. The Remote Data Access checkbox is now available to select. To complete the setup, select Allow the Remote Data Access checkbox and click Continue. You're then prompted to create an encryption passphrase. This is an extra layer of security, and all remote users will need this information when attempting to connect to your data. The passphrase must include a capital letter, a lowercase letter, and must be a minimum of 15 characters. To view the passcode at any time, follow the steps provided here. To complete the process and upload your data to the cloud, click Save. How long this will take will depend on the size of your data and internet speed. Once complete, Remote Data Access appears on your status bar.
Okay, so now we have linked the Sage account to the company and uploaded the data. So now Remote Data Access is set up, so any changes Joe makes from his Sage software will sync to the cloud, and any changes made by any other users once set up will then reflect on Joe's machine. So next we're going to demonstrate how to give Remote Data Access to Louise's user record.
In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to add Remote Data Access users. To get started, log in as manager. From the Settings menu, choose User Management, then click Users. You can add Remote Data Access to an existing user, or if the user does not appear on your list, you can set up a new one. For the purpose of this demonstration, we'll edit an existing user. Highlight the relevant one on the list and click Edit. Navigate to Remote Data Access and select the checkbox to allow Remote Data Access. Enter the required details for your user. Please note, a unique email address must be entered for each user. To move on to the next step, click Continue. When the summary page appears, check the information is correct, then click Save. An email is automatically sent to the email address entered. This contains a step-by-step guide on how to connect your Sage 50 accounts data remotely. You must provide all Remote Data Access users with the passphrase that you created when you set up Remote Data Access. For security purposes, you must send this separately.
Okay, so you can see how quick and easy it is to add Remote Data Access to Louise's record. So now, as Louise, we want to download that company to our machine. So let's take a look at the last video demonstration of downloading it to Louise's machine.
We'll now demonstrate how to connect to Sage 50 accounts using remote data access. Before attempting to connect to your data remotely, ensure you have the relevant information to hand. You'll need your user logon name and password, the email address that has been applied to your user record, and the encryption passphrase. To connect remotely, open Sage 50 accounts and then click Add Company. Next, you'll see 4 setup options. Click Download. If you wish to change the location your data is saved to, click Change and follow the on-screen steps. To move on to the next step, click Continue. You are then presented with a set of instructions explaining the next steps. Click OK and log into your Sage account. If you don't have one, simply click to create an account and follow the prompts. Once logged in, you'll see the companies associated with your Sage account with more information about each one, such as the version of the data, who the data owner is, and if required, use the icon to view the company ID, which you can cross-reference with other users to check that it is the right version to download. Select the company you'd like to connect to, then click Next. Enter the encryption passphrase and click Continue. Finally, click Download. A progress bar appears while a copy of your Sage account's data downloads to your computer. Once complete, you'll be prompted to log in to Sage accounts using your logon name and password. Once you are logged in, your remote data access status is confirmed in the status bar along the bottom. Sage 50 accounts is now connected using remote data access, and you can now start the process as usual.
Okay, so once the company is downloaded, Louise can log in and start a process and make any changes straight away. And it will then sync those changes back up to the cloud and reflect on Joe's machine in real time. So that is remote data access broken down into 3 steps: upload, add access, and connecting remotely. If you wish to re-watch the videos we have shown today, again, this is all going to be included in the recording and it's going to be included in your follow-up email. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, so just while we wait, I just want to prompt now before we go through the frequently asked questions. If you can pop your questions across to me. Now is your opportunity as we come to a close. We have a question come through there from Margaret. So can I ask whether the message shown in green text at the foot of my screen, which reads remote data access online, means that I am a remote data access user? That is correct. So if you see that remote data access user online, along the bottom of your little bar, along the bottom of your software, that means that you are connected via remote data access. Okay, so we'll go through some frequently asked questions. So first one, again, we do get quite often, it is the misconception: will the data be stored in the cloud? So only temporarily, so it can sync between different locations. You must remember to take regular backups of your data. Can I use this on a tablet? So no, you must have a copy of the Sage 50 account software installed on a compatible machine. Can I use remote data access to replace my server? So we recommend to use a server connection where possible, as this will be quicker. You can still use remote data access alongside the server for those in other locations. So you can use them concurrently as well. Okay, so to summarize, it enables you to access your data from any location where you have an internet connection and the software is installed locally. All variants have access. It's included in your subscription. Each user must have their own unique email address. Ensure you are taking regular backups of your data as well. I have included some helpful resources down the right-hand side as well, so the Remote Data Access Hub, and also backing up your data as well if it's not something that you're familiar with. Quick question there that's coming from Margaret. So what message is shown when a user does not have remote data access enabled? So I'll quickly show you on my software. So I don't currently have remote data access in this company. So as you can see along the bottom, I don't have anything to do with remote data access. It's not enabled, so it doesn't show anything. If I had remote data access enabled, but maybe I was, for whatever reason, it was working offline, don't have internet connection, it would say offline. But if you don't have it enabled, it just doesn't show anything along the bottom. Okay, so I just want to launch another poll on your screen there. So I just want to know now you've attended today's session, and hopefully it's been really useful for you. I just want to know, are you now more likely to use remote data access now you've attended today's session? So simple yes, no, still unsure. If you are unsure, can you please pop in the chat what your concerns are, and I can pick those up and maybe point you in the right direction or just reassure what your concerns are. You can just pop your votes in there for me. Again, we usually wait until we get around 70, 75%. So I can see we're just over halfway there. So I'll just give it a little bit more time so people can get their answers in. Fantastic, so we've got about 83%. So I'm going to close that down. Don't worry if you haven't voted. So 80% of you have said yes, so that's fantastic. 20% of you are still unsure. But like I said, there's plenty of resources on our help centre. I'll quickly show you where you can get access to that as well. So I'll just hide this poll down. So on the help centre for Sage 50 accounts, if we scroll down, there's a hub here, run your accounts remotely. Click on that one there, and it tells you all about remote data access, what it is, step 1, step 2, step 3, how to add and manage your users, and also as well common queries. Okay, so I'm just going to pop back to my slides. So that does bring us to the end of today's session. If you've got what you need to do and you want to leave the session, you will receive an email around an hour or so after the webinar has ended with links to both our webinar schedule and today's recorded session for you to refer back to if needs be. Upon exiting the session, you will see a survey at the end. If you could please let me know your scores, pop a comment on there, whether it's a short comment. If you want to write a longer comment, that's fine by me as well. I do like to read every single feedback that we do receive. Question coming there from Donna. We currently have a one user license. So if only one of us uses it at one time, can we still install the Sage on other devices, or do we need a second user license? So if there's always more than one of you using the software, because it's your license agreement, you do need to upgrade your license, and that allows you to work concurrently as well. But you shouldn't be working two of you shouldn't be working on one user licenses. Okay, so what we'll do is we've got one more question there, sorry, from Margaret as well. How would a user end up being in offline status? What I'll do, Margaret, is I'll contact you after the session is ended. I'll give you a quick email regarding that one because I'll need some more information. But what we'll do is we'll wrap this session up. If we've answered all the questions, I want to say thank you to you all for your participation today. And just a reminder, we've got plenty of sessions over the next couple of weeks, so don't be shy and get registered. So I want to say another thank you and take care.